So now, ladies and gentlemen, live and in colour, it's Mr. Wayne Lovejuice.
The other day our producer Louis had a chat with an interesting chappie who said that the YouTube algorithms really aren't that happy. If a channel only broadcasts once a week, so we decided we could text ya whenever we've got a piece of news in our new book on the track extra. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Downs, and welcome to another episode of On the Track Extra. Every Wednesday evening at 6:30 and every Saturday afternoon at 3, we bring you a mélange, if you like. Now, I've had enough of being so pretentious and talking foreign just to try and impress people. A general mishmash of hard science, weird shit, and surreality. What's surreality? Well, let's have a word with Richard. He'll probably tell you.
An oily old egg with a red peg leg thought a porcupine was his daughter, but he soon found out that she had the gout and would often wink underwater. A red rose saw a big pig pose on the edge of a silver dollar. The end of his tail was a wide-necked nail, and in place of his face was a scholar.
As I've mentioned recently, something that I have always found fascinating inside the annals of Fortean research is the way that stories, apparently disparate but actually connected to each other, turn up at the same time when people just aren't expecting it. I've been studying the marine mysteries of Cornwall for about 30 years now, mostly to do with Morgar, the great sea serpent, which was photographed and seen in various parts of the Falmouth Delta, starting in the mid-1970s. And it's still seen occasionally today, although the most recent sightings have been obviously of misidentified known species that were just in a place where people weren't expecting them. These were a sunfish and one of the grebes or divers. And I'm not talking about a bloke in a rubber suit, I'm talking about the birds, divers. What do you know about divers, Louis?
This
is Louis, by the way.
I only know about one sort of diver. Divers, am I right?
Louis, you're my producer. Am I allowed to put that in the show?
You're muffled.
Am I allowed to put that in the show?
I would beep it out.
Okay, that will probably do for the start. The first of these stories is of a huge, and although we don't have a proper size estimate for you, it's a bloody great big basking shark, which was filmed and photographed in St Ives Harbour at the end of March.
Hey Richard, I've got a question.
Yeah.
These basket sharks, how do we know they're really baskets?
Because in ancient Europe, in the early Stone Age, the early Mesolithic, their skins were used to transport flints in from one place to the other.
But is that true?
No. The basking shark is the second largest fish in the world after the whale shark, growing to 40 feet or more in length, and like the whale shark, it's a filter feeder, although it filters in a different way. It has these organs called gill rakers, which it uses to filter plankton out of the water. Now, they're not usually that visible in the winter months. It was thought that they would go deep down and sort of go into a rather torpid state, not exactly hibernation, but they would dive deep into the sea and not really move or do much until the warmer months when the plankton was back. And the gill rakers, I believe, either fell out or atrophied during this down period. So it's unusual to see one swimming around like this in Cornwall, or indeed anywhere at this time of the year. So it could be something to do with global warming, or it could be something entirely different. But it's highly unusual to see a basking shark at this time of year. Now, the other thing about the basking shark is everybody knows that decaying basking shark carcasses are often mistaken for sea serpents because the whole gill apparatus falls away and gives the illusion of a small head with a long neck. But the other cryptozoological thing about basking sharks is that they're sometimes mistaken for great whites. Now, great white sharks should be found around the British Isles because we're in the temperature range that they like, and we have the biggest population of grey seals anywhere in the world. So it's ideal for great whites. A lot of people that think they've seen great whites have actually seen basking sharks, and the difference is that the basking shark's dorsal fin is rounded, whereas the great whites is more triangular. However, there have been on occasion very reliable witnesses who said they've seen great whites around Britain. One of these happened off the Scottish coast, off the west coast of Scotland, and the witnesses were divers and marine biologists who saw the creature. And in another one off the coast of North Cornwall, the person who saw it was familiar with great whites because they'd seen them in the wild before, and they saw this 15-foot shark come alongside their boat. They gave a very accurate description of it with its eye and the slate grey on top and the white below. And he said as it swam by, it tipped on its side and he saw its eye go round and check out the people on the boat, which is something that great whites do. They're very inquisitive, and basking sharks aren't noted for that.
Well, the second of these strange sea stories from Cornwall, and by the way, both of them came from old friend of the show, Mark Rains. I really don't know what we'd be doing with them on the Track Extra if it hadn't been for Mark Rains and Miss Maxine sending us so many stories through. But thank you, Mark, for these ones, and they came within a few days of each other. And it was this peculiar story about a porpoise seen in the company of a pod of dolphins. Well, I didn't know this was a weird thing. So once again I asked Richard.
This is an unusual state of affairs, as dolphins will often attack and kill porpoises. Dolphins are over twice the size of porpoises and very much heavier, and they will often batter porpoises to death with their snouts. And we think it's because they're eliminating competition. So you generally find that the two animals won't live together. So this is very odd. But occasionally you do find different species of cetacean living together. I believe there was one case where some killer whales were seen with the young of either a pilot whale or a false killer whale, and they weren't eating it, it was with them as if it was part of the pod. And I think dolphins have also been seen with false killer whales as well. So occasionally these odd things happen, sort of like a Disney film friendship. So nobody really knows what's going on.
We've had various porpoise stories come into us over the years, and a few that come to mind were a porpoise that washed up somewhere in the Bristol Channel in It was 20 years ago. No, it wasn't. It was 19 years ago. Because my then girlfriend, for our third date, had to come and identify it with her Photoshop skills. And it turned out that the creature that had been described as a sea monster that had washed up on somebody's beach was a baby porpoise, half decomposed, with a raging stiffy. And so what was actually thought to be the head and neck of a mysterious creature of the deep was actually the penis of a dead porpoise. And here is...
Penis.
Yes, Louis, have you got something you want to say on the subject?
You said penis is funny. Penis.
Yes, Louis? Is that all you want to say on the subject?
That's all I wanted to add, was just me giggling in the background from penis. I made a producer decision.
You are a very strange boy.
Yes, well, you know what they say. Young people don't need penises. We've got anime.
Well, that probably explains why young people, according to all the statistics, are getting laid less than any generation before them. But back to porpoises. Here is a picture I found while looking for a copy of the porpoise with the penis. And this is a two-headed porpoise, or to be more exact, a conjoined twin porpoise, or two porpoises that have got conjoined together, so you've got two heads in one body. And that's about all we have for porpoises this week. However, I would like to just tell you that here at the CFZ we all have a sense of porpoise.